Let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning.
Good morning.
Late night for a lot of people last night. See a lot of tired faces out there. Okie dokie. First up, let's approve the minutes from our October 2nd meeting.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. I'm going to remind you, because I went back and watched one of our TV shows just to clarify something I was working on, and I mean, doing that right there, you can hear that on TV so bad. So keep in mind too that everybody can hear everything everyone in the room is saying. So just a little reminder on that. We wanted good sound and we got it. All right, Matthew Kane, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
I come before you this morning when I came before you originally for the 2025 budget hearings. There were a couple of one-time expense item requests, and at the time we had informal discussion on whether or not there would be 2024 money for those projects as opposed to waiting until 2025. We're kind of reaching the point of no return when it comes to getting contracts signed. So I come before you today to remind you of those two projects. The one was to replace our UPS batteries that are down in emergency management that continue the power should we have a power outage before the generator can get fired up. That supports both emergency management and the 911 center. The cost of that replacement was $5,268.80. And then the other item was we are wanting to look at changing our 911 call delivery software to realign with our CAD system that we currently have through Central Square. And that cost is $148,972.66. So I know there has been a lot of changes since we first talked about this at budget hearings. I know there's a lot of moving pieces. Those were the two projects, though, that I did feel that we could move forward this year if you wanted to use one-time funds for those projects. If you want to wait till next year, I am fine with that. We're not reaching end of life for either one of these that has to happen between now and the first of the year. I'm willing to work with you and whatever is best.
I know at the time we had said there's probably going to be extra ARPA money that would be perfect to spend on those kind of things, and I think that has kind of changed. But I'm not sure. Can anybody tell us what our one-time fund balance is?
It's on your sheet that I can pass out.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's right, it is. $675 without the encumbrance. So we have plenty of money and one time to go ahead and do that, so Matthew can get those things ordered this year. Does anyone have any questions or recommendation?
No, I would just say that this is obviously a critical piece of hardware software that allows his center to take the public's 911 call, and it's time for an upgrade. And with the integration of this into the CAD system, will make a seamless workflow for the staff in the 911 center. So with that being said, I'll make a motion to
Second.
We have a motion by Barry, second by Jeff. Any other questions? So this is for both things, the battery and the software, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just gonna be clear on our motions. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There were none. So there you go.
Thank you very
Feel
much,
free
and
to
we'll move
order.
forward with commissioners and getting contracts reviewed and signed, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners' comments.
Again, you have your bi-weekly sheet in front of you, and a couple of updates to point out to you. The generator project finally has gotten underway for installation, and you can take a look and see the progress. They've started on the landscaping and the generator installation itself. The Coleman roof project that has been completed, that was completed last week, and the ceiling lighting project in Coleman will be started probably yet this week. Now, they wanted to wait till after the voting was over so that all the machines were out of that area. The HVAC project at First Bank Expo, they expect to have that done this week as well. And then you see the dates for your next, the hardscape landscape project, which is the front plaza, and the elevator project. Bids are due for those November 20th and the 18th of December respectively. And then the IT cabling project, the commissioners will consider that project, that contract today. So it's been looked at by Ron Cross, so I would anticipate the commissioners signing that contract today, and that project will get underway.
And it came in considerably under
Yes.
what we had
Yeah,
estimated.
considerably under.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other questions?
That generator's amazing. It's huge. I told my
It's
husband.
smaller than the other one.
Is it smaller?
It is smaller than the other one. It looks so big because it's a gas tank underneath
Oh, okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I said I was gonna show you that, and he goes, I've already seen it. Everybody's looking at our generator. All right. Mr. Plaster, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Congratulations to those who were elected to a term with us. We've got a good team put together and looking forward to January when we get all those pieces in place. And as I frequently say, we've got a great team of 10 to work together collaboratively to move Wayne County forward. You know, I'm happy that I was able to illustrate what Beth just said at the start of the meeting, how, you know, we give you all these papers and then you sort through them and it all comes through our new sound system, but maybe we'll have to switch to using the TV screens at some point. It might be a little quieter. So let me start with the ARPA report, the bigger spreadsheet. We're making some progress. We're getting contracts signed. We're committing. Signed contracts is what commits the ARPA dollars. We've got a few to go through, but we have kind of put together a pool of funds, whether it's ARPA or Wayne County Edit or the general fund dollars that we have agreed to keep available for projects with joint decision process. There's money available to do all these things. We just need to shift them around as we go through the next 2 months to make sure that all of the ARPA dollars are committed and will actually be spent. Probably the most recent update for you is the $1 million of ARPA that the county put into the downtown revitalization program have all been committed. I think there are 13 or 14 projects, the exact number escapes me, but people could apply for up to $100,000 with a 25% match of their own funds. The match ends up significantly exceeding that 25%. We'll get a calculation on that as all the numbers become more clear to us, but there will be significantly more than 25% of that total invested, private dollars invested in these projects. Remember, the city has also put up $1 million, and the same situation holds true for those dollars. So we're moving forward with those. For the county's $1 million, we have signed contracts for all of those projects now, and we're in process. You know, again, the biggest moving target at the moment is still the emergency communications project. We're working on accepting contracts and moving forward with that. Some of them have been approved. There are one or two that are still outstanding. But the number for that project went from the original $1.5 million to $3.1 million. So we're making adjustments to try to sort out exactly the source of funding for all of the components of that project. Be happy to answer any questions there, but if you want to turn to the smaller spreadsheet that I gave you, which is, again, just a snapshot of possible ways to take those different pots of money and distribute them across these projects to make sure that all of the ARPA dollars are committed in a timely way. And so this is a new version. I told you that I'll come to you as things progress to give you some ideas of how we might actually allocate specific dollar amounts and get those ARPA dollars committed. So this is a new version right now. The significant change is that the fairgrounds upgrades, which is primarily involving additional parking at the fairgrounds, paved parking, we're not progressed to the point where it may not be possible to get everything under contract by the end of the year. So this is a model that would move those funds, the ARPA funds that were committed, to the emergency communications project, and then free up some of the general fund project dollars that could pay for this next year, which probably the work wouldn't begin until spring anyway at this date. So that's a possibility. So here, just going down that list, the emergency communications towers, $1.5 million was originally budgeted. The revised budget is $3,138,295. So we've talked about the housing infrastructure project with $1,060,000. We moved that money, that ARPA money, into the communications towers, and we pay the housing infrastructure out of Wayne County Edit next year. That leaves a shortfall of $577,000. The cabling project, which Steve referred to, came in at $188,000, where we had the original estimate was $500,000. So that leaves $312,000 that we could move to the tower project. That leaves $15,000, $15,000 and change. Creating Places is a project that got onto our ARPA list erroneously. It was originally conceived to be paid for out of Wayne County Edit, the $500,000 of Wayne County Edit that were committed to the HELP program. And so that brings the number down considerably. So we're looking at just a few dollars there that I didn't account for, but can easily be accounted for, $460. So again, this is not a cut and dried number. As we get more estimates and the contracts become more solidified, we'll have to decide on exactly how we're going to do it. But this is throwing some options to you so that we can collectively make those decisions of which dollars are committed to the ARPA projects, so that we make sure we don't have to send any money back. Going down to the middle there, remember we're looking at the elevator project in the courthouse, a new elevator that would go to 3 floors. That's a $850,000 project. I'm suggesting we use some of the uncommitted ARPA, basically the rest of the uncommitted ARPA, $350,000. That brings the deficit down to $500,000. We take the $250,000 of ARPA funds that's currently committed to security upgrades. Again, I'm not suggesting we don't make those security upgrades, but that because we're in the last 2 months here of the need for commitment, contractual commitment, that we take that money and spend it on the elevator project, which will be able to be contracted before the end of the year. And we pay for those security upgrades when we're ready out of another source of funding. So that leaves $250,000. The highway surplus, we've decided that there's $150,000 that we will not spend out of the $300,000, that second commitment of ARPA funds to highway projects. And Mike is in agreement. So we commit that $150,000. That brings us down to $100,000. Then we could spend $100,000 out of cum cap to pay the balance of that number. And, you know, if that varies a little bit off of $100,000, there's close to $1 million in the cum cap fund at this point, and that would be a qualifying investment in the courthouse. Refurbishment of the existing elevator. That will be an alternate on the bid. So the new elevator will be the main component of the bid, but there'll be an alternate of renovations to the existing elevator. Once the new elevator would be installed and operational, then we could look at upgrading the existing elevator so that there would always be an elevator available. That is estimated to be a $450,000 project. There are funds from student community engagement of about $78,000 that would bring that number down to $371,000. Student community engagement is a $50,000 budget line that would bring it down to $321,000. And then that $321,000, I would suggest, could come from cum cap, which again, there's close to $1 million in the balance there, which brings that down to zero. That means that of the, what I'm calling the collaborative general fund dollars, things that we've agreed to pay for out of ARPA that were originally budgeted as general fund expenditures, was $1,050,000. The commissioners have committed to supporting using $250,000 of that to pay over the next 2 years for the changes that you have budgeted for us with our staffing and our revision to our management team. That would leave about $800,000 of that general fund money for projects that could be used for these projects that are on here that aren't fully funded, or any others that come up. Be happy to answer any questions, but again, I told you that I would keep you posted on options to keep you involved in that process of how can we pay for these, looking for input from you all as to what your preference would be on where we concentrate the available resources going forward. Do you want them in the general fund, which in my view is the most flexible of all of our funds and makes the most sense to me? But you know, there's cum cap, there's rainy day, there's other sources. If you prefer to pay for some of these things out of other accounts, the main thing is to make sure that all of our ARPA dollars are under contract or already paid for by December 31st. Any questions?
I think that to underscore the conversation about overcommitting, as part of that tower project, there's a contingency built in that overall budget that won't be committed
Right,
because it's contingency.
correct.
So in those numbers, taking that into account.
Okay.
You've done that.
we're aware of every project needs to have contingency built in. We're looking at how do we replace that with other funds that, we don't want to end up with ARPA dollars that are not spent because the project came in under budget. So if it's $1 million project and we end up paying $900,000 for it, we don't want to have to send that $100,000 back to the federal government.
By the same token, we don't want to build a contingency into the contract itself, because that tends to incentivize a use it or lose it mentality sometimes with contractors. So it's a balancing act, so to speak.
But again, we do have available resources to put into projects, as you see here, if any of them go over. There are change orders that could be possible on all of these that we can fund with things other than ARPA.
What's the status of the proxy cards?
We don't have a response yet from the company that does that. We're kind of tied to one company because of all that they do for us in the security arena. And so they've not been particularly responsive. So we continue to go back to them and ask for updates. We have changed our request, and so that requires a change in their estimate, and it's not been forthcoming, and that's why in this version of the plan, I'm suggesting we go ahead and move that ARPA commitment to the other project so that we get it contracted and available to be spent. And when we get information that will allow us to contract for security upgrades, we can pay for that out of another revenue stream that is not time restricted.
I have a question about the scanning of the records. How's that going?
It's going well. I check in with them every month or so. They assure me that they will be done by the end of the year. If you go over to the basement of the courthouse, you wouldn't credit that as being accurate.
Oh, really?
There are still, and it's, partly because there was so much stuff stuffed in all those little rooms that it was unbelievable. So they are moving a lot of records to their workshop in South Bend. They take a truckload of records and scan those and make them accessible, and then the clerk's office makes sure that they're available where they need to be, that their indexing system is functional and operational, that all of the scanned documents are legible, and then once they've certified that's the case, then we pay the bill, and then the original records, those that can be destroyed are destroyed once they're in multiple locations for security's sake.
And are they currently scanning? They're not still saving up stuff, are they?
No.
They're scanning.
They're still
as they go.
scanning. They were always
No,
scanning.
I mean the people in
Oh.
the clerk's office. Are they switching over to scan everything that they can?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
yes. So everything going forward is already electronic,
You can do this again.
many fewer paper records going forward. So I'm assured that the project will be complete by the end of the year, that if you remember, the contract we have with them calls for X amount per record that is scanned, up to a maximum because they estimated the number of records that there were. They couldn't physically count every one, but it's turning out that they underestimated the number, so which they eat the difference. So if they underestimated, we still have a maximum that we pay by the contract, and so they'll go ahead and do the rest of them, and they'll absorb that cost. So that's where we're at. I've asked him, had several updates from him as to whether that still seems to be the case, that they overestimated and they will expend all of those dollars. He assures me that that's the case and that they will be completed by the end of the year.
Okay.
It's gonna be close, though.
Do we still have some material in other offices that's not under contract?
It's not under contract, and at this point, you know, it's gonna be too late to do that out of ARPA. But again, as we pull together these numbers, where are we paying for what, out of what source, we'll come back to you with a request that, you know, here's offices that have records that they would like to scan. What's the cost, what's the estimate, and how much is there that needs to be done? So ultimately, I think this is the future. All of those records are gonna be electronic. We'll have a lot of room in the basement of the courthouse.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Plaster?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for all your work on the ARPA. Keeping it all straight for us. I've been requested by Forward Wayne County. They sent an email and they want to do a blog post about Wayne County Council. And I was gonna ask all of you if you want to send me a couple lines or a paragraph about how you feel about being on council, what you think about it, all that kind of thing. I have to turn those into Acacia by the 19th of November. So the sooner the better that you get me something, we can get it all put together into one, one article, but they're gonna do an article about council. So she just wants to let people know what council is and what we do. Because lots of times people confuse us with commissioners. We don't have the power they do. So.
Yeah, we control the purse strings too.
Power of the purse.
I don't want to go out and
That's a
fix their
superpower.
road or replace a sign. That's all on you guys. And we will have an appointment starting in January to the EDC board, but I think Roger Smith has agreed to take that, so we will officially appoint him to that next month. And does anyone else have any committee reports?
I do.
Okay.
Making an announcement here, wanted you to all be present. I haven't talked to any of you about it, but I have been looking for a home and tried to find land in my district. Wasn't successful, but in the next 2 months, I will be resigning my seat, sending a resignation letter to Gary and to the clerk. It's been a real privilege to serve the citizens of Center Township and Western Richmond and all the folks in Wayne County. But as you know, 4 of us are elected by district and 3 people are elected at large. The fact that I'm moving out of my district in the next couple months, I will be resigning the seat, and it will be up to the Republican Party. We'll have a caucus for my replacement, and I've certainly enjoyed working with everyone, and it's a little bit sad to be doing this after nearly 20 years. But I didn't really intend on it, but a home became available that I've loved since it was built in the early 2000s, and just was an opportunity that, I felt I needed to take. So appreciate working with all you. I'll still be around here for a little bit of time. Nothing's actually been finalized, but an accepted offer has been received. So I'll be making that transition in the next couple months. But it was good. Yeah, as I can tell, no one. And I thought, how am I going to keep this secret so I can tell everybody at the same time? So I was fortunate that was able to happen. So
You will be greatly missed.
Definitely.
thank you.
That's a shock for the morning.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out how we can budget money to contract him to come back at budget time.
Yeah, really,
Work on
and do
budget,
work
yeah.
on budget.
That's a better job.
We'll help him run for an at-large spot. Thank you for that. That's sad news for council and for the county. Anyone else?
I do have one committee announcement. WUR is having an e-waste event tomorrow from 10 to 1 at Seton High School. We partner with the high school kids there and they come out and work. So if anybody has any electronics or electrical items they'd like to get rid of, they can bring it there between 10 and 1 and we'll be happy to take those and keep them out of the landfill. And it's free except for the big televisions. They don't take those, I mean, they'll take them, but it's a $20 charge for that.
Tell me that again, the time and date.
From 10 to 1 tomorrow,
Oh,
which
tomorrow.
is, what, the
Okay.
7th? At Seton High School.
What do they do with the electronics?
They recycle them. A place from Indianapolis comes over, takes all those things and recycle them. Except for those big TVs, I don't even know what you call the ones with the big back. They can't recycle those, so they charge a fee because they have to dispose of those.
So they destroy them, basically. is what
Yeah,
you mean.
those they do. Everything else is recycled.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have workshop on the 20th at 6 p.m. And our next council meeting is December 4th at 8 a.m. And Gary has something.
Yes, I'd like to let everybody know that we have a ribbon cutting Saturday morning at 11 in the economy for the new park. It's a lot of community support in that as far as dollars goes and the help money that was put into that, so something to be proud of, so.
Yeah, that's great. All the little parks in the small towns, that's, ARPA money has done a lot of good help money. It's just wonderful. I'll tell you, this Milton looks 100% better. It's so weird. I know. I know. It's really good to be able to see that kind of thing. It's really creating quality of place and quality of life for people. That was our goal. So that's good. All right. I think that we will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none, for sure.